inside in. Linesmen together as they straighten up. Knight and Fair into Remus. They in it. Oh, it's close. It's a photo in the Melbourne Cup.
From the class of Derby Day to the thrilling finish in the Melbourne Cup on Tuesday to the elegance of Oaks Day, we've arrived at the final day, the last day of the 1997 VRC Spring Carnival. Bit of a haze over the city of Melbourne today, but 6 kilometres away, the famous Flemington Racecourse looks absolutely magnificent beside the Maribyrnong River for this, the last day of the Carnival of 1997, and a record-breaking carnival it's going to be. With 247,070 people attending last year, we only need some 13,000 today to break the all-time record. Good morning everyone and welcome to Network 10's live and exclusive coverage of Chrysler Stakes Day from Flemington in what has been a magnificent carnival, and the highlights just keep on going today. As far as the program is concerned, it all begins at 11:30 this morning, and that is with the Bobby McGee's Maribyrnong Plate. The babies will be coming up the straight. The big race is the Chrysler Stakes at 2:45. One of the other highlights, the Queen Elizabeth Stakes, race 7 at 3:25. But there are plenty of highlights to talk about. The weather today, as you can see from our shots, it is absolutely perfect. We've got a blue sky, the temperature around about 21 degrees, nice cooling breeze blowing at the moment. It is fine, and the morning cloud has cleared, so we have an excellent day, just perfect for the final day of the carnival. Let's see if the track is also perfect. To the gentlemen who've been in the commentary box and have done such a magnificent job over the first 3 days, I'm sure it will continue today. Dan Malicki and Gary Willetts, good morning to you.
Thank you, Peter. Good morning to you and ladies and gentlemen. The track officially rated as good as you would well expect with these balmy conditions, although it is quite windy. The rail is out 5 metres for the entire circumference of the track, as it was on Thursday, Oaks Day here. Penetrometer reading is 4.06. Gary, what is your impression of the surface?
Well, the surface is still pretty good, Dan, but I would say that this wind is going to have a bit of a bearing on the races today. This track goes, we say, east-west. But this wind today, it's really blowing southwesterly. And look, if I was riding today, I'd like a little bit of cover in a race. And I think the inside might be a little bit quicker than the outside. The outside rail, we saw the first few days, they wanted to be right hard up against the outside rail. It looks to me a little bit cut up. I'd say you'd want to be about 2 or 3 horses in. And if I was riding here today on this track here, I'd try and get out about 3 or 4 horses from this rail here.
So certainly horses getting back in the field and coming wide in the straight are going to be perhaps in a better position than they may have been last Saturday.
Oh, definitely, yes. This wind will have quite a bearing. If it does swing around to become a, real westerly, well, it's very hard to lead here.
Okay, that's the track condition for Flemington on the final day of the carnival. Officially good. The rail is out 5 metres.
Right, Dan, just before you and Gary go, Gary, you're standing on that spot where Manicato dashed clear in an Australian Cup in 1978, and I think you were run down by Dulcify, and at a function coming up very shortly, you're going to relive some memories of the great Manicato.
Yes, that's right, Peter. Yes, Mini Valley Racing Cup, that's Sunday week. They've put on a day for us. I've got to raise some money for the Red Cross, so I hope all you people, all our tipsters here win a lot of money for you so you can afford the $40. It involves, that's an afternoon lunch, dinner, you're invited into the races, cost of admittance, everything. There's a lot of prizes. We've got some great video footage. Bob Hoysett will be a special guest with me, Mel Seckle, all the connections of Manicato, and it should be a wonderful day. Bob's evidently got some footage of Manicato playing up at Mel's farm, and it's really spectacular.
All right, 93732268 in Melbourne is the number to call if you want to be part of that afternoon. 3732268. Thanks to Gary Willetts and Dan Malicki out on the track with the good news there. Well, it's time to welcome the panel now. They've found you a few winners throughout the carnival. Hopefully quite a few more to come on Chrysler Stakes Day. Jenny Chapman, Richard Friedman, John Letts.
Hello.
How are you?
Oh, pretty good. Surviving.
Yeah?
Yeah, going to last a week.
It's been a long week, hasn't it?
It has.
Jen, we come to the Chrysler Stakes today, and it is one of the most open races for the entire carnival.
Well, Peter, there's 16 horses in the field, but I do think about 10 of them have chances. It's a tough field today, and I think probably the mares. The mares haven't got a bad record in this race. I think they'll go well.
What about the Sydney dominance of the carnival, Rich? The Sydney trainers have been taking the big pickings back home.
Well, that's one of the great things about the Melbourne Carnival, is that it lines up all horses from all over the country, and I really think that the Sydney horses, well, there's no doubt they've had the wood on us this carnival, and maybe that will continue, but some years we've had the wood on them in their carnival, so it all evens up over a period of time.
Johnny Letts, we've seen some of the world's great jockeys here. Frankie Dettori, of course, was the headline grabber, but I think we've seen the likes of Oliver, Di and some of our finest riders really showing that they are world class.
I think this has made the carnival, Peter, and watching Shane Dye and Jimmy Cassidy, we're going to miss out naming jockeys, Damien Oliver and Stephen King, Darren Beedman, you know, names that you would go anywhere to see ride anywhere in the world, and we had them here at Flemington, and there was a dozen or more of them. It's been great racing, and they've made it great racing.
OK, let's take a look at the scratchings for today's program. First event, the Bobby McGee's Maribyrnong Plate, beginning at 11:30, and there are no scratchings, a field of 7. Race 2, the Pin and Win Handicap at 5 minutes after 12, and you can take out number 14, Berkhamstad. From the third race on the program, the Totally Wild Stakes, sponsored by Network 10 at 12:45. There are no scratchings and a field of 9. Race 4, the Troa Arrowfield Matriarch Stakes at 1:25, and the withdrawals here are the emergency: 17 Pipeline Miss, 18 All Lead, 19 the Stimulator. Race 5 is the Village Roadshow Welter at 5 minutes after 2, and the scratching is number 11 Prior Engagement, a field of 12. The big one, the Chrysler Stakes Group 1 at 2:45. Scratchings are number 10 Rabada and 17 Prefer an Angel, 10 and 17. Race number 7, the Queen Elizabeth Stakes, 3:25 the scheduled time of commencement. Number 1 Istedard is out, along with 9 One Man Out, 1 and 9. From race 8, the Hilton on the Park at 4:05. You can scratch 13 Albert Park, 16 Power and Glory and 19 Source of Divorce. And the last race on the card, the Melbourne Cup Carnival Plate at 4:45. Take out 3 Jugulator, 8 Expressage, 12 Num Sing and 19 Waiter's Eyes. 3, 8, 12 and 19 from the final event on the card. Here are the dividends for the Chrysler Stakes as they stand at the moment, and a wide open betting race. Mossdown's very good odds after a good run in the Cox Plate. Tarn Pearl Lane, Catalan Opening, King Ivor all in the betting, as to is Pengaloo, the Toorak Handicap winner. Holy Roller, we're going to see a bit of him a little later on. He's right up with the favourites at $5.20. Over the page, and some good value available here. One of John Hawke's 3 runners, Prairie, at $12. Will Flyers come up big odds, and there's a case to be made for Will Fly, dropping down in weight today. And of the other runners in the Chrysler Stakes, Crows Before Dawn is big odds. Sweet Delight also out in the betting. Day Rebay is an each-way chance at $19.40. That's the big one. Race 6 today at 2:45. Well, the man who was down in the betting ring on Thursday and brought us some great mail, as he has done all the way through the carnival, is with us now, Tim Gossage. And as I say good morning to you, there's a bit of a whisper around there's going to be an unloading on one horse today.
Yes, certainly is, Peter. Good to see there's a bit more room to move in the betting ring today, a bit more leg room, and it's building up slowly but surely. But the bookies, I was talking to them, they reckon that they're in front 3-2 over the carnival. They've brought in the Cox Plate and the Caulfield Cup as well. But I can tell you, the last 3 days of Flemington, they have copped a battering. Yes, there is a very strong tip for a horse in the last race here at Flemington, and I think we'll just keep our viewers hanging on the edge of their seats, but we'll keep them updated throughout the day.
OK, thanks to Tim Gossage, who will have that information for you a little bit later on. Well, it is Family Day here at Flemington today. We're going to be seeing the punters, but we're also going to be seeing the kids out here having a good time. There's lots of activities for the kids, and we're expecting a crowd in excess of 20,000 people today. If you happen to be watching in Melbourne and you haven't been out to Flemington yet this week, why don't you come out and see this beautiful racecourse at her best for the final day of the carnival? Well, we've been sitting here poring over the form guides and trying to come up with a winner, and we'll have the selections of the panel very shortly, but Milton Black has another way of finding you a winner on this final Saturday.
Aries, bounce a buck on the favourites today. You may take home more than you first thought, and follow horses with names suggesting force, daring and action. Lucky numbers 1, 6 and 7. Taurus, throw caution to the wind and have a big plunge on horses with names suggesting cash flow, ease and possessions. Lucky numbers 1, 5 and 8. Gemini, you may shout the bar and take the family out to dinner if you follow horses today with names suggesting contracts, diversification and image. Lucky numbers 3, 5 and 9. Cancer, keep an eye on the roughies or rank outsiders. You may strike it rich, and follow horses with names suggesting agriculture, concealment and liquids. Lucky numbers 2, 5 and 7.
A horse named after a town's name spelled backwards, was the winner of the first nationally televised Melbourne Cup. R1 was ridden brilliantly by Harry White, who recorded his third Cup success. The most thrilling of all televised Cups occurred in 1979, with horses spread across the track at the Clock Tower. It was left to two great jockeys, White and Higgins, to fight out the finish, White being successful by a nostril on Hyperno.
Salamander and Hyperno, they split the line. Salamander maybe, but it's close. Hyperno there too.
Network 10's John Letts rode the race of his life in 1980. Taking the initiative at the 1600, Letts took Belldale Ball to the lead, and from there, his second Cup victory was assured.
And Belldale Ball wins the Melbourne Cup by 2 lengths, My Blue Denim.
And two of the most famous names in racing combined to win the 81 Cup.
And Just a Dash is going to win the Melbourne Cup. Just a Dash by 2 lengths, El Lorena.
Tommy Smith broke a 26-year drought, while jockey Peter Cook emulated the feat of his father, also a Cup-winning jockey.
Some memories of the Melbourne Cup of years gone by as the crowd begins to roll in here to Flemington. It's still a great day for the picnic, much more room on the lawns today, so it's a perfect day to come out and enjoy what is a quality program of racing. And shortly we'll be looking at the runners before the Bobby McGee's Maribyrnong Plate race number 1, which is due to commence at 11:30. A little bit later in the day, guys, we're going to be having a look at a day in the life of the Freedmans. And Rich, you know that we spent a day with you. It was actually 1,000 Guineas Day. And yeah, it was good fun from 4:30 in the morning. And well, this is some of what happened. You can see they're very serious, the Freedman boys, and they're very camera shy. Hate having the cameras around. And these are just some of the things that really shouldn't have happened on the day.
Oh, dear.
And Lee now fancies himself as a bit of a television producer. Have a listen to this.
Took the table floor of the shot. Had the binoculars. Came up the stairs, no binoculars.
Tips. Today. Tips. You want to check a name? The name Knackers is available for consideration. Yeah.
I'll have one with the lot.
Go back upstairs.
Hi, Rick. Can you pick me up?
You have to be
Talking to Michael Gudinski, international jewel thief and record presser.
And of course, walking off at the end, yes, he couldn't resist it. They're just some of the things that they didn't think would be going to air. We got you. We told you we'd do that, didn't we?
That's square up for Thursday, isn't it?
What was that? What happened
never
Thursday?
mind, never mind. I'll get you in race 2.
Yeah, I think you will too. Race 1, the Bobby McGee's Maribyrnong Plate, and the runners are coming into the mounting yard for this first event. Time to commence at 11:30, no scratchings in a field of 7. And we've got a couple of first starters here, so let's have a look at them. First of all, the one that has had the race experience, number 1, Choose, is trained by John Hawkes and will be ridden by Darren Gauci. Has had the 3 starts, Jen, and has won 2 of them.
Yes, nicely ridden. 2 starts ago, 2 at Morphettville to get there and score. It was in a field of 5, and then 1 easily last start by 3.5 legs. This horse obviously has some experience under its belt. Very nice in the coat there as well. I think must be considered some chance because it does have the exposed form.
Well, the Freedman stable has had a tremendous run of success with 2-year-olds so far this season. And here's a first starter, number 2, Highborn, raced by Mr. and Mrs. Lloyd Williams, and to be ridden by Greg Hall. What can you tell us about this colt, Rich?
Well, he's a very well-conformed colt, and he's done everything right in work. He may be lacking a little bit in experience, and experience is a big thing in these early races. He'll have the rail to follow because he's drawn barrier 2, but probably lacks a little experience, that's all.
Number 3, Mr. Bow. Jim Cassidy is the rider for Barbara Joseph at Canberra. And again, this horse has had the experience with second placings at both its runs at Canberra and Moonee Valley.
On both occasions, Mr. Bow has got back in his races and run on quite okay. At Canberra, he did that. And Moonee Valley, likewise, pretty much the same run. I'd say with the experience under his belt, look for him to be getting back in this race, and he might be able to run into a place.
FBI has 2 runners in the race, and Piccadilly Circus is the standout number 4. From what we've seen so far, that win at Caulfield, very impressive. Damien Oliver in the saddle, and really, she does look the winner.
Well, she's owned by a syndicate from the Coolmore Stud, and they're the predominant stud in this country at the moment and everywhere else in the world. Her form is great. I mean, the win at Caulfield was outstanding. We really didn't expect expect her to do that much. I think she'll be very hard to beat from the barrier 7 if she gets the right run in the race.
Darren Beedman is aboard number 5 Prowl on what will be his last day at a Melbourne Cup Carnival, certainly for the time being anyway. And this particular horse has had the 1 starters in the care of Clary Connors.
Yes, it wasn't a bad effort on his first up occasion there, Peter. Did a few things wrong, raced a little bit greenly and wanted to switch the tail in the straight. Definitely fitter, and with that experience under his belt, maybe there was some chance.
What about number 6, the filly Rich Catnipped, trained by Peter Hayes to be ridden by Stephen King, just the 1 start and was beaten an eyelash.
It was only beaten, just tipped out up the straight by another one of our fillies, and it was a very good run. She did a few things wrong. She's only got to go straight today with the 51.5 kilos. Stephen King in the saddle. I think she's a very, very good chance.
And Bruce McLaughlin had a winner here the other day, Jen, and trains number 7 Coed, a first starter.
Yes, I think this horse has some ability, Pete. The filly, one of the fillies in the race, she did win a trial up at Eagle Farm, and she won that by 4 lengths in pretty good time, so definitely want to keep an eye on there, and you can see she's in the betting.
Well, let's go right through the panel and get the selections. Ladies first, Jennifer.
Well, I'm going with Piccadilly Circus. I do think that it can definitely win here from number 7 Coed and number 2 Highborn.
Rich?
Well, I'll stick with Piccadilly Circus, but I think Catnip's the one to beat.
Let's see.
Yes, I've got to go along with Richard too. I think that Piccadilly Circus, but it's interesting to note that Catnip has an addition of gear today, a tongue tie, and if she can go half a stride better than the other day, she's going to be very hard to beat today.
Yes, if only Peter Hayes could lend us that tongue tie so we could put one on you sometimes. 4 Piccadilly Circus from me to beat 1 Choose and 6 Catnipped here in the first event, the Bobby McGee's Maribyrnong Plate. Let's have a look at the tote figures as they stand for race 1 with Dan Malicki.
$13.30 for number 1 Choose, if that's your choice. $25 for Highborn, $19 for Mr. Bow, $1.70 for Piccadilly Circus. Number 5 Prowl at $16, Catnipped at $11.60, and Coed at $3.60. So clearly the top 2, Peter, numbers 4 and 7.
Yes, as you can see, Piccadilly Circus odds on the tote showing $1.70. Let's find out how things are going down in the ring, see if there's any money for the couple of unraced here, or maybe those that have had race experience. Tim Gossage is down there. Piccadilly Circus still a hot favourite, Tim?
Not as hot as it was when it opened up, Peter. It did open up odds on, and as you said, $1, Dan said $1.70 on the tote. You can get black numbers down here about Piccadilly Circus. The good money has come from the bottom one, number 7 Coed. There's been good specking. What's that, 5-2 on the tote? Much shorter than that in the ring, but they say it's a race in 2.
Just while you're there, are they doing any business yet on the big one, the Chrysler Stakes?
No, Peter. It's a tough race. I think the bookies are going to try and keep their betting to a minimum on the Chrysler Stakes at this moment, but if I get any information, you'll be the first to know.
Terrific. Tim Gossage down there in the betting ring. And, well, he's got a pretty good view from his height, and that's the view looking down from above at the straight 1,000-metre track for the Bobby McGee's Maribyrnong Plate. 11:30 the starting time, as we said. No scratching. Stalls up against the outside rail here, and you've already heard Gary and Dan talking about where they would prefer to be on the track. Piccadilly Circus from all 4 of us in the opening race on the final day. And as I said, Tim Gossage does have a very good view in the betting ring looking down from up above, because he is round about 6'8" in the old measurement. He's not quite that tall though. He doesn't quite have the Whitman's Lightship hovering over his head. What magnificent pictures the Whitman's Lightship has provided us with over the carnival here at Flemington. It's going to be smooth sailing up there today, although it is a little breezy, around 21 degrees, and that's the sight looking down as they go to the stalls for the first, the Bobby McGee's Maribyrnong Plate. We'll take a break and be back to fabulous Flemington in just a moment.
Here we go.
We said it's family day at Flemington, and the youngsters are certainly enjoying themselves. Some are on the jumping castle and some have started early, grabbed hold of the race book, doing the form. That's what we like to see. And there'll be plenty of families here today for the final day of the carnival, and they're about to see the babies come up the straight in the Maribyrnong Plate, a race which has been won by some wonderful horses over the years. You go back to 89, names such as Canny Lad, and back to 1981 we saw a story on Charlie Weymouth earlier in the carnival. And Rancher, the mighty Rancher, won this race back in 1981. Well, they're at the gates and about to move in. Tim Gossage has an update on what's happening in the betting ring. Timothy?
Peter, one of the Freedman horses, Highborn, is $23 on the tote. May I say to you, that is 3 times as much as it is in the ring at the moment. It is a big go. It is owned by Mr. Lloyd Williams.
You kept us out of that one, Richard.
Yes, Richard Freedman just rolling his eyes down here. Highborn, the one that they have supported here. Well, what do you say to that?
I've still got nothing to say.
So, in saying nothing, are you saying something?
Possibly.
All right, they're about to get set. Jen, I'll tell you what, one tipping performance I think we should mention this carnival was Steve Moran of Best Bets.
Yes, and definitely, well, Best Bets has been taken over, of course. They've got a terrific panel of guests. And
what did he do the other day?
Well, first, second and third in the Melbourne Cup. It was a great effort.
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're just getting into racing, I think Best Bets is probably a good guide for you.
Yeah, well done, Steve. And I think the trifecta paid $1,200 on the Melbourne Cup the other day. Well, let's hope that we can find you a few here, and you might like to take the tip from Tim Gossage there that Highborn is going to be in the race, but Piccadilly Circus, certainly the other one of the Freedman runners, is definitely a hope. And there is the scene from the Whitman's Lightship prior to the start of this, the first event on the card. Just mentioning the big one, the Chrysler Stakes later on today. Jen, it's a race where you could have easily 10 or 12 picks and still miss the winner.
Certainly, Pete. It is a very, very difficult race and a very competitive one. I was mentioning the mares have a good record in this race, and you know, the likes of Will Fly and Prairie, they've both been racing in terrific form. Great win by Prairie on the weekend as well. So I think they've got to be considered as one of or two of a lot of chances in the race.
Rich, has G Hall recovered from the disappointment of Tuesday yet?
Yeah, I think he bounced back pretty quick, actually. He's indestructible, G Hall. We've tried to destroy him a couple of times and never had much luck.
Yes, and he's tried to destroy everyone else at various times too. Moss down $17 in the Chrysler Stakes. In the money, Tarn Per Lane pulled his head off in the Cox Plate. Forget about that run. Catalan opening a very good second in the Toorak. King Ivor is always running on in his races. Pengaloo, nice run over the straight 1200 the other day. Bradson about the $20 mark. Holy Roller, we'll see a bit of him later on. He is massive, $5.20. Confiscate, good winner here the other day, but a big step up in class. Mono's Cove likewise. Prairie around about $12. Flashed home on Saturday. Will Fly $15 mark, way down in the weights. Pros Before Dawn, Principality, both with some little fluking hope in the race. Sweet Delight's big odds. Day Rabat from the Freedman camp at $19.40, and you can write your own ticket about the emergency number 18, and that is Dual Honour, around 60,000 in the win pool. And there is the Hawks runner here, Choose. John Hawks has 3 in the big race, the Chrysler Stakes, a little bit later on. Well, they're getting set, moving into the gates. 3 in, 4 to go in. So let's go up to the commentary box. Dan Malicki's up behind the binoculars, and casting an eye over them too is Gary Willits.
Thanks very much. Gee, I like to look at number 7, Coed. I thought it was a beautiful looking filly. Piccadilly Circus, you wouldn't have seen an easier winner than what she had at Caulfield, but you know, I don't know. Coed looked very smart.
Choose going to the gates has had 3 starts, 2 wins and a second, which is very good form for a race like this. Now that's Highborn having its first start. It's by Coronation Day from Countess High, trained by Lee Freedman. Bit toey, but Greg Hall back in the saddle.
I noticed this wins. Oh, there's
now
one going up.
Choose.
Choose has got his legs right over.
Climbing over the top there. And he's back down now.
I wonder whether they might even have a look at him, Dan.
Highborn is very toey. That's the other horse on the screen there being held as Highborn. And a lot of these horses haven't had a lot of experience of being in starting stalls, particularly on race day, and it's a very nervy experience for them.
There's Greg Hall. He's just standing on the side here at the moment.
And that's Choose. He's out of the gates. That was the horse that jumped upwards and poured at the front of the starting stalls. Darren Goutsey about to jump off by the looks of it here, Gary, is he?
Yes, I think so. They'll just check him, or they might even just get Darren to trot him round to make sure he's okay.
No, he's going to trot him up.
Yeah, he'll have a look at him, make sure he hasn't hurt those...
What do they look for here, Gary?
Well, just to make sure he's not sore at all, Dan, that he's okay still. He still looks pretty free to me.
Now, if he was sore, he would be showing a distress signal of how?
Yes, well, their steps just not quite as long. Here he is, you can see him going up, and he puts his front legs nearly over the top of those stalls. Now he's back down again. I don't think he did a lot of damage to himself, but as I said the other day, they've got to take that precaution because, you know, a lot of money goes on him, and if they happen to run them, and then tomorrow, or tonight when he cools down while he's warm like this, he's mostly okay.
John Hawkes had Sports in this race last year. Hasn't been a kind race for him because Sports would have been a short price favourite.
I remember that day well, and he came out of the stalls and spread himself, remember, as he jumped.
And 2 years ago, they actually ran second with Flavour, but he won on protest. So it's been an indifferent race for the Hawkes stable.
Dan, I was just looking here how good this grass is here. I think he might... he's going to come out on, I think.
What was that one, Bobby?
So Choose
Started the stewards there, please.
See, they
could
just
be coming out by the looks of it.
Yeah, I would say he'll come out. They just can't take that risk.
Withdrawn.
Yeah, late scratching here. Number 1 Choose is
See, he's
late
gone up
scratching.
and put his legs over those stools down, and then like he could have damaged a tendon or something like that, and like he might be a bit sore tonight when he cools down.
Okay, so the field is down to 6. Number 1 Choose will be a late scratching here. The warning siren sounding on the track. And number 1 will come out.
Yeah. I was very impressed with Piccadilly Circus win at Caulfield. Gee, she, was, well, you can tell it had been a Lee Freeman horse, well educated. Did everything right in the run. But as I said, I did like the look of number 7, Coward.
It's a Group 2 race over 1,000 metres, carrying prize money of $100,000. And the starter getting back to his platform, and the youngsters are set to go for race number 1. The final day of the carnival, and away they go here. Highborn jumped okay. Coed wasn't flash away, but it's starting to muster up speed, and Catnipped is coming across in front of the face of the field. It'll lead. Catnipped in front. Running second was Piccadilly Circus. Coed third, so the fillies 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Just in behind them was Prowl. It's the furthest on the inside. Highborn back to second last, and Mr. Bow ridden along, but only a couple of lengths off the lead. 600 metres left to go. It's Catnip hard up against the outside rail in front of Piccadilly Circus and Prowl. Just behind those was Coed, but ridden along, and then Highborn and Mr. Bow. 400 to go. They're stretched across the track. Catnip narrowly in front here from Piccadilly Circus being ridden along. Prowl makes ground. Coed switched off their heels. The leader Catnip about a half a length in front as they run to the 200. Prowl after it. Piccadilly Circus the centre, and then Coed. It's Catnip, then Prowl. Catnip the outside of Prowl. They're 2 lengths in front of Coed and Piccadilly Circus. Catnip the outside's got its head in front. Prowl going with it. Catnip and Prowl. Oh, Prowl lunged. Oh, it's close here. Prowl and Catnip, another bob and go. Third, I'm not sure about either. There was Coed very prominent. It seemed to dip just after the line. And Piccadilly Circus, and they've beaten the others by a long way. Mr. Bow and Highborn. A photo here.
Oh, nearly a dead heat, I think, Dan.
See, the bobs were very big, weren't they? And it'll be the outside will get it, I think, Catnip. I wasn't sure at first, but I think Catnip will get it here. Number 6.
It was a good win of Catnip.
And it has. Number 6 has got it. Catnipped.
It was a great run because there's the photo there.
It was going to win by, I thought, ahead with about 20 or 30 metres to go, and the other horse has put in the lunge from Beedman, but it's just failed. There's the photo on screen. So 6 is first, second in was 5, and third was it Piccadilly Circus number 4. I noticed the fourth, well, I say fourth, 4 is third. Coed just going over the line. It seemed to dip.
Yes, Coed was a bit unlucky. He had a beautiful run, and I thought he might have stayed behind Catnip, because Catnip to me was always looking to get away from the outside rail, and like if he'd stayed where he was, he most probably would have got this run through, but he's had to switch to the inside.
Now Piccadilly Circus is not going to run third at all here, and Coed, well, it's just got it on the line for third, but just past the post. I thought it was nearly going to fall over Coed. It seemed to stumble like a horse will when they break down.
Yeah, so we might see it here.
Just past the post that was. The numbers are official, 6, 5 and 4. Coed 4th, and 5th in number 3, Mr. Bow.
He was a great rider, Stephen Kings, because early in the race I noticed Catnip was definitely wanting to get away from the outside rail, and Stephen actually changed his stick from the right hand over.
Did shift in